Hi, I'm Brenda McKinley, the Library Director at the Ridgefield Library, here to share the experiences of the library during the COVID-19 pandemic, beginning back, I guess, in March of 2020. Um, Things unfolded very rapidly. We had begun hearing about the pandemic. Um, as librarians, our ears are always open to what's happening in the world and thinking about uh, how this is going to affect us, affect our community. Of course, at that time, we had no idea about the changes that were really about to happen. Very rapidly, we realized that as the pandemic was increasing in New York and Ridgefield being so close to the city and on the Metro North line, that what was happening in Westchester was going to be spreading. As the governor in the state of Connecticut was beginning to issue some guidelines and some restrictions, we realized for the library, our programming, which is a centerpiece of our service to the community, was going to be the first thing that we would need to stop. And I believe it was on March 11th, it was a Wednesday. I was actually in a meeting, and that morning with library directors in Fairfield County, we have a group that we meet regularly every month. And we were in our morning meeting, and we were beginning to talk about what our library is going to do. And we had already been beginning to discuss at least stopping programs. We thought that's what we would have to do. And that step we did take. We had a couple of big programs actually planned for that, even that afternoon. We had children's author Christina Geist coming for one author talk, and other popular programs that week, and we realized we needed to cancel that. And then within a matter of days, by that Friday, we realized we actually needed to close the building to the public. It was initially incredibly disheartening for all the staff. We all work in public libraries because first and foremost, we love the public. We love serving our Ridgefield community, seeing our patrons every day. The relationships that we have the privilege to build are what give meaning to our work. And to have to close the doors to our incredibly beautiful building, which was built by so many people in Ridgefield, making personal financial commitments and working so hard to give us such a beautiful place to provide library service, it was very challenging. And those initial days, I think for all of us, were a little bit of now being at home. Well, we closed to the public on Friday, as I said. I should back up there. That Monday, the 16th, we thought, okay, well, we can keep working from the building if we can't have the public in. And we realized immediately that actually we would have to close the staff as well. And that would allow us to have the proper social distancing and doing the kind of lockdown that at that point the governor was beginning to issue, and that we saw just unfolding so rapidly that week. But as I said, it was very difficult initially. We started by having conference calls amongst the staff, and then rapidly learning some new technology using products like Microsoft Teams and Zoom, and how can we meet. And as we were initially thinking about very much fundamental things of how do we keep our building safe and operational, how do we make sure that our staff are whole, that people are not worried about losing their jobs, and how do we just keep ourselves running as an organization, we then started thinking about, well, what can we do for the public? We've always offered online resources, ebooks and e-audiobooks, databases, and all of that sort of thing. And in increasing that was a quick decision of increasing the number of checkouts and making sure we were spending more, making sure we have more resources there in terms of titles. So those kind of decisions we could put in place very rapidly. But then we really started thinking about programming. How can we continue to make connections with our community? How can we continue to provide programs that are meaningful, story times? All of a sudden, parents were home with their children, and and schools were closed, and the distance learning was, being developed at that same time. So our staff in each department, whether it's adult services or teen services, children's services, from home started figuring out how to do these things, how to record themselves doing a story time, or how to get a book discussion together and have that opportunity for people to still participate in a meaningful way. I'm incredibly proud of the work that the staff has done from a programming side. Everyone is at home with different internet speeds and different technical equipment and in different situations with their own families, and yet continue to work and strive to offer quality programs and meaningful ways for people to connect with each other and to connect with us. The response to the programs has just been incredible. We realized very quickly with some of our large adult programs that we needed to increase the capacity of our Zoom meeting. We actually had a donor who helped us with that, and so to be able to have a big group together, that's been just amazing. I've been on a couple of those big lectures. It's really so nice to be able to still hear a presenter and have the opportunity to ask questions, even if we're not all together in our meeting room. Some of our staff who have worked on our RidgeCon, our popular culture event that we do every summer, started putting together trivia nights, and those have proven so popular every other weekend, every other Friday, and families of multiple generations. It's a family-friendly event. People can just play a little trivia. Often there's a costume element, so just seeing little ones in their costumes, if it was Harry Potter or it was Disney, that night was a lot of fun. So thinking about creative ways has been really gratifying. In addition, the online resources, the use of those has just increased tremendously. So it's really meaningful to be able to see that we can still provide resources to the public. We've continued some important partnerships that we have in town, so many organizations that we work with, even places of business like our partners with Books on the Commons to continue to make copies available for our book groups. That has also been very meaningful. We started doing regular emails called Connect With Us, where we try and highlight something from each of the services, adults, children's, teens. We do a staff pick, and we always have a community connection in there. And there have been so many amazing things happening in the Ridgefield community to support those who are so affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, whether it be food shortages or healthcare workers. The work that the Department of Social Services is doing in Ridgefield in terms of collaborating and supporting organizations who are directly serving those in need has just been tremendous. And it's really a privilege for the library to partner with all these organizations and to support the work that they're doing. So we've been getting positive feedback on those community connection emails, and that's been something very meaningful and new way of reaching out to people, and that we didn't have before. One of the things, again, very early on that we started thinking about is, okay, what will it look like when we reopen? We spend a lot of time talking and meeting with librarians across the state of Connecticut. Connecticut, we have specific situation and the guidance that we're getting from the state. Also nationally, the American Library Association or the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which is down in Washington, D.C. There have been some amazing webinars and opportunities to hear what's happening around the country in terms of library service during the pandemic, but then also moving beyond. So we started probably about a month or so ago, a really detailed spreadsheet about what reopening will look like and how we can do that safely with each step along the way. The health department in Ridgefield and at the town hall has also been incredibly helpful in that, as well as a human resources department. So we've started the plans for what it will look like when we can get back into the beautiful building that we want to be back into. The first step was really bringing staff safely, and we've started that. Again, staggered shifts, following all those kind of guidelines to make sure that the staff themselves are safe with their protective equipment, and moving around our actual office space so that people can be appropriate distances from each other. And then we can start the next step of accepting returns and having materials available for the public to pick up. One of the unique challenges for libraries is that we have lots of materials coming in and out of our building. There have been some studies, there's continuing studies on whether the COVID-19 virus can be transmitted and how long it lives on surfaces. We've been following guidance from the CDC, but at libraries we have big volumes of things coming in, going back out. And so one of the things we've really been working the details through is how do we quarantine materials, whether they're deliveries or returns of library items, and then make sure that they're safe before the staff handle, and then back to the shelves and the collections, and then continue to stay safe before we get them back out to our community. The details have been many. It's a very interesting challenge to have to continually shift from that 30,000 foot big picture down to the most minute of details in terms of how we will make everything work in a safe way. We're excited to take those steps. But one of the important lessons of the service that we were able to provide during the closure has been that we were able to perhaps reach some people that maybe we don't when we're in our traditional, or what you might call normal model. There are many people who, for all sorts of reasons, maybe can't attend programs in person. So the idea that as we move forward with our programming, we have some sort of virtual piece to continue to provide those programs for the folks who are either working or maybe have mobility issues, or for whatever reason may not be able to actually come into the building. That's very important. Those are lessons that we will carry forward. We recognize that some of the service will be different. As a librarian in Connecticut, I think for many years, more than 25 actually, one of our professional creeds is that we work to build a library where people feel welcome, where our community can come together. And it is, as I said earlier, it was so difficult to have to close our doors to the public, and it feels it's a challenge, that knowing that when we do start reopening, we will need to do it in a way that that is stepwise, and we won't be able to get back to where we want to be immediately. So having the patience to know that we've got our eye on that goal, and we will get there, but it is going to take us some time. And I'm grateful for the guidance, as I said, of the town and the state, particularly here in Connecticut, the Connecticut State Library as well, that will help us with those decisions, and my colleagues, library directors around the state. Another group that I just want to mention is the Friends of the Ridgefield Library. They're so important in everything that we do, through their endless hard work and volunteerism on behalf of the library, and have just been so supportive of our programs, of materials. Our ability to increase those things online has been in no small part due to the hard work and support of our Friends group. And also our library board of directors have been incredibly supportive. We're figuring out new ways of working and new ways of being and new ways of serving, and having the support of our board of directors has been just tremendous. And I am just so looking forward to taking these first initial steps And as I said, moving towards a more complete and full and rich service model where we can be back together. And I am also grateful for the organizations here in Ridgefield who are all working together so beautifully to just support those in need. And I feel that the needs going forward will be there. They'll be different. We'll have lots of people looking for jobs, and lots of people who might need support in terms of dealing with stress and anxiety. Or I worry about our students who may have some uncertainty whether they're going to college in the fall or distance learning, whether that's going to be a part of their future, and how the library can support all of that. And then lastly, I would just like to thank the Historical Society for having the foresight to do this project of recording voices about the pandemic, and recognizing that we are in a really unique and different time right now, and gathering the stories of our community is so important, and will be a rich resource into the future. So I thank the Historical Society for this opportunity. I look forward to all of us getting back to our collaborative efforts and programming, and a future where we can be together. As we've been saying, we've been together apart, and I think we're all looking forward to actually being together. But I thank you so much.